Good evening.
Oh.
All right. Let's see, folks. This has been a long time since we've done these. If anyone in chat could yell to see if, let us know if audio is coming through okay. That would be very helpful. And if we got video, all the better. Let's see.
All right, we're getting some yells.
Audio good. Yes, excellent. Great. Good.
Hello, awesome.
I'll try and lower a decibel or two, but I'm loud. You'll have to deal with yelling. We are yelling. Great. Awesome. Okay. It's can you hear us? With caps like that? Yes. So I hope you folks are all doing well. Yeah, it's been a long time since we've done this. Mainly because the last place I lived in, I had about 1 or 2 megabit upload speed. So this has not been feasible for a very long time. I have moved. I am now in a tiny little hut over here for my office. And yeah, but we have fiber, so all is well. And yeah, for once I've actually kind of managed to get my arse in gear, and we managed to get Johnny in on the stream. Actually, it's that way, because that's how cameras work. And yes, and Jason is on speed dial as well. He's in the audio, and we'll have him on the video, I'm sure, next time. Yeah. Is there anything else to deal with up at the top? We have a way of asking questions, and I can't remember what it is. Johnny, do you remember what they meant to put in the Discord chat?
It is the exclamation mark, lower Q.
Cool.
If you put that in front of your question, it will be stored in our Discord, and we can answer them throughout the stream.
That doesn't make it much easier than us trying to scroll backwards through the chat logs. Awesome. We can use our words to ask a question. Yes.
Yes. They sometimes they just get lost, unfortunately. When we get really into the group, hopefully we will do that. So we'll see.
Awesome. So yeah, like the general sketch is we've not done this for a while. We wanted to hang out with you folks. We've got some time, so ping questions at us, and we'll kind of rabbit about what we've been up to as well. Yeah. Where do we kick off?
Well, I think if we talk a little bit about the beta branch, because I think that's something we're trying to do new going forward.
Yeah, totally.
And if you have something to say on that subject, then that would be great.
So, like, previously we've kind of like we've been making features and kicking them over the wall, which has worked great. But obviously we have a number of kind of wonderful clandestine mod builders who are out there these days who make kind of things in the grey legal spaces of games. So yeah, there's a lot of DLL hacking and cool stuff, which is great. But we started shipping things and they were breaking stuff. And that was not great. Like, it was like took a couple of weeks for all the mods to be repaired, which is like awesome work on their part, but also not so cool. So we've been wanting to, yeah, like set up these kind of branches so we can get features out and just put them there for a week or two, let everything kind of settle, let hopefully any really scary bugs that have crept through can get caught, and if anything gets broken, it's only stuff on a test build. It's on a completely separate set of servers and database and all that stuff, so it shouldn't break anything in live, which is grand. And yeah, that's kind of, yeah, we're trialing it out this time. Seems to be going okay. We've been getting some good feedback, so that's grand.
Yeah. Also hoping we can maybe test out some more experimental features through those test branches, so that we can get some things to people earlier and get some early feedback on the user experience and on just functionality in general. But yeah, the main, as Chris was saying, the main reason for well, actually, one of the main reasons for getting this stuff out is in case we do break some things, which we do a lot because we're refactoring all the time. And that's unfortunate for the people modding. So to give them a little bit of a heads up, that's one of the solutions, and it also gets other people in and sort of like being able to check things out. I guess I just said exactly the same thing, but yeah, here we are.
But with a different beard, so that's excellent.
Yes, exactly.
That's what life needs, is the same thing being said with beards. That's why we need Jason on the stream, so we can have one more beard. Then we can just take it in turns saying the same thing. Awesome. Yes. That's really cool.
It's 3 times.
Yeah. So, like, oh, go for it, man.
Yeah, no, I was just going to go into something else, but if you have anything to add on this, then
yeah, I guess so. There's from a just general update, where like things are tracking on, but we have not released anywhere near what we've wanted to in the first half of this year. That's for reasonable reasons, which is the best kinds of reasons. But no, there's been a lot of life stuff going on, which has been a kind of surprising thing. I didn't think I would be able to move into a place in the next... I was thinking it was a couple of years out, and then a really nice place cropped up, and it was affordable. And so, like, the first chunk of this year for me has been getting into a new place, fixing things, moving stuff over the course of time. We've had, like, appointments in Oslo every week, so I've been down, and I'm keeping things a little vague because, again, life, work, balance stuff. But yeah, there's been a lot going on. Brexit makes things fun, so I had to deal with some legal stuff there, and yeah, it's nice. Tell you what, it feels really nice now to actually be moving on features again. It feels like we've been building up like 60% of a bunch of things, and stuff is starting to move again, which is great. Yeah, so I guess that's it. Like, we're aware that not as much comes out as we kind of suggested or hoped. Especially internally, we thought we were moving more, but that's on the code side at least. On the art side, things are trucking really well, and yeah, it's taken a while to get that cyberpunk stuff out, but with good reason. Yeah, it's looking pretty cool. Actually, Johnny can probably speak more to that.
Yeah, I mean, that is an absolutely massive update as far as sort of just pure assets go. And the reason why we want to like do it in like one release rather than like a lot of small ones is we want, like, our goal is to try to have the first release be somewhat playable. So there's enough stuff in there so that you can actually do a proper game. If we were to release like a tile set at a time, with the cyberpunk stuff, I think it would take a little while before people could properly start using it. Yeah. But that also means that we've had a lot less going on the side of sort of pushing art, because one of the ways that we stayed visible was by regular asset packs that we would like push and then do updates on Steam and things like that, and we haven't had those, which means that it feels like there's been less going on, even though there has been tons associated with that. And I do want to sort of get a little back to some of the brand stuff though, because
yeah, sure,
there are because yeah, so Chris is coming down here to Tønsberg on Monday, and we're hoping to continue work on some features that we're hoping to get onto the branch in not too long, I guess, which is the group movement is one of them.
Yes.
And then we have the persistent rulers, which is another.
Yeah, we'll probably I'm gonna dive back into them probably a little bit later after a few questions. There's not too much to show, but I just want to show that, like, yeah, we made a thing and it's not good enough. Sure.
No, that makes perfect sense. The group movement thing also got to a certain point, but then we made big changes and it broke, and now we're sort of working on getting that back to where it needs to be, and hopefully both of those things are sort of close to something that we can push onto a test server, and also is sort of like, as you mentioned, about like 60-70% there potentially. And cool. If you want to talk about some of that, or even something else, or if we should do some questions, maybe.
Yeah, probably. Like, we got some questions rolling in, so I'll start with a few of those. Let's see, folks, what have we got going on? Cool. So Demon Gun saying, water is the highest rated feature on the feature list. Prior to holistic new terrain system, can we get a simple solution? For example, blue square tile. Really, anything other than having to use blue beds to make rivers. I mean, you don't have to use blue beds to make rivers, but we don't give you much choice. Yeah, that's tricky. The difficulty with the water ones is they're implicitly volumes. So as soon as you start laying down water tiles in a way that makes sense, the number of them is extraordinary, and it doesn't. I don't know. It just doesn't. It's a hard one to go back from. It's not like there's a simple. Oh, like once we have the proper terrain system with the water, that we can just say, we delete all the old water tiles and replace them with this new thing. So it's a bit... yeah. My gut reaction is I don't like it, because I don't know how to make it nice later on. And I can see this. I can see a chat. We don't care. We just need a blue tile. Yes, I don't have a better answer for that right now, unfortunately. More pleasers. So yes, sorry, I don't have a better answer for that at the moment. It feels like we'll talk about it again, but
Yeah,
it's
it
a
is.
tricky
I
one.
think it is something we'll have to bring up internally again, because
Yeah,
the reason we have given all along is because of the terrain systems.
yeah.
Obviously, that's not really.
That's not
Uh,
like on the verge of being
it,
done or anything. So
no, no, it's still very much in a prototype
yeah.
stage. So
So yeah, maybe blue tile
it's
makes sense.
yeah, it's possible that we might have to come up with something there. I mean, we can always deprecate things as
Yeah.
we've done in the past,
Okay.
which allows slabs to exist,
Yeah.
but they won't be available in game anymore. So that might be a way of sort of, once the terrain system was out, yeah, deprecating things basically.
Cool. Well, nice
Uh,
one, Dimmigan. You've got blue tiles that bit much closer to happening. I will. Yeah, we'll get back to you on that. Will the weird wog the no fog slash water? That's how you combine those words, and that was problematic. Will the weird fog slash water effects be fixed?
um, yeah, so for some reason I had a weird pause there. I'm sorry. The as in it's a difficult one to fix during, like, with the current, like, rendering pipeline. However, I do want to dive back into it to see whether or not we can sort of get the drawing order right. Currently, the fog effect is a post-processing effect, which means that it sort of interacts with water in a weird way, because water is like an added top effect, because it needs to render what's below it. So there's like a rendering order issue there that's causing a lot of strange behavior. And because we don't currently have like a full control over that pipeline, that's where the sort of the issues lie. I'm sure by either moving the water into becoming a post-processing effect, so like an effect that is added on top, or by bringing the fog into the same rendering state as the fog, we might be able to mitigate some of that stuff. But it's not like an immediate thing that we're looking at, because hopefully we'll be able to like fix it properly at some point. Fog was a weird one, because fog was one of those things, like some other features, that was added in a bit of a like knee-jerk reaction to our partner. It's like a partnership with Dimension 20. And then it was like, we should really get this in, and it didn't behave well with water, and we've just been trying to make it work as best possible. So yes, I do want to fix it. I just don't know exactly the best way to do that right this moment.
Yeah.
So it's probably not going to be on the agenda like within like the next few months or whatnot.
Yeah, the kind of shorter version is there's not a switch we can flick that fixes it. Yeah, the rendering pipeline stuff is going to be wild. There's a lot to do there. Oh man,
Yeah,
shadow rendering especially. I really want to replace that, and we could actually, if you want to know more about that, yeah, drop a question in the chat, because we can yak more about like some of the specifics, I guess, or kind of general the general Unity rendering thing. Okay,
I'm
so
really tempted to get into.
Yeah, right. It's like, do we spend the
rendering
next 2 hours just talking about that, or like we should answer some more questions?
Yeah,
so the next one is there an approximate ETA for the Cyberpunk assets?
So I would love to say yes, but to respect myself and the rest of the team, I think we can't like set a specific estimate for it. But we are wrapping it up. What I mean by that is that we sort of set a cap on the assets that we're going to release, and we're going through all of those, fixing any problems with them. We are organizing them in a good way, and sort of so that part is finalized. There are some code aspects that still needs to go in, some UX specifically, and what I'm talking about there is like, how do we easily filter out cyberpunk for people who don't want it, or fantasy for people who do, but still allow it to be available so that in case you want to suddenly have something that's technological, or you want to have a rustic bar inside your cyberpunk thing, rustic tavern, then you can do that without having to go and sort of like turn on and off something, right? So there's a usability thing there that needs to be figured out. We also have like packages, or the idea of like campaign settings, I guess, which we need to figure out like how it fits into the data structure of the game. So those are things that I'm hoping we'll at least talk a little bit about next week.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, packages are interesting. Like I'm not sure, have we announced that we'll be using mod.io for some of our for our modding stuff?
Well, I guess we have now.
Well, that's cool. Okay, so yeah, like we're looking into that at the moment. That'll be influencing the package manager, and so I've got tasks to start digging into that. Obviously, I've done a lot of experiments with the Hero Forge stuff, which has been really valuable. That's been a great excuse for us to just deal with loading and unloading assets and things at runtime with custom package formats and things like this. Yeah, it's been good. It's not been exactly like, hasn't been the smoothest sailing on all parts. Especially there's some things in Unity you would just expect to work and doesn't, which is awesome. But we're still very. You'll hear me gripe about Unity in this stream. It is still a net good. Like if we had to replace it, this game wouldn't come out for years. Well, we would never have been able to make it. Is the short version. But there are things that are buggy or wrong and are very annoying. Also, I just realized, of course, there's going to be a whole bunch of people that haven't been in our streams before. And so, just to cover a couple of things, we really try not to give updates whenever possible because we're a tiny team. And so things happen like the other day, I go find out from my dentist that I need to have like my wisdom teeth pulled out, and suddenly that changes the course of what we can release over the next 2 weeks because I'm just not available for days and stuff like that. We need to be able to be flexible because we're small, and it's part of that life-work balance stuff. So that's why we try and keep dates vague as much as possible, so we have that flexibility. Another thing is we will how did I put it before? Like back in the past, I know how to say this correctly. We try to be as open and honest about everything as possible. We also want to be open and honest about the fact that we're not going to be open and honest about certain things. Like if we have partnerships with people with NDAs, we're not just going to break that, obviously. But that just basically means we're going to be honest about the fact we lie to you about certain things. But yes, that's the only thing. If you're new here, hi. Okay, so yes. Yeah, Cyberpunk, it's looking really cool. One of the things that was really interesting to me was, like, you guys got so much of the, like, what looked to me like a really serious pack done, almost. It was like, it looked fairly complete, and then you sat down for a bunch of play sessions, and, like, following, I can't remember, was it Shadowrun type stuff you were doing?
Yeah, we're trying to just build maps for Cyberpunk, well, campaigns, I guess.
Yeah, and then immediately found like, oh, there's a whole bunch of stuff that's just like important but missing, and so the pack had to grow again, which was really cool.
Yeah.
But annoying. But I mean, that's the thing. Unfortunately, we couldn't just ship it, but yeah, it was neat.
Yeah, I mean that's bound to happen, of course, unless we just sort of make everything. However, it was just it was so immediate as we were trying to build some of the basic campaigns found in some of the Cyberpunk books. Just the start thing. So it was great to get some of those things in there at least. And much like with medieval things, we'll continue building packs and stuff for that in the future as well. It's probably going to be interwoven into each other. So maybe like every other or whatever makes sense. We also don't know how big of a audience the Cyberpunk will have compared to the medieval fantasy and stuff like that. So it all comes down to what people need.
Cool. Next question is, how does one grow a luxurious beard like you both? It's solidified despair that is literally creeping out of our bodies. Next question is, so did we cause you too much pain? That's regarding to the modding stuff. Nah, you're all right. It's the modding thing is really interesting because it's like, imagine you have a building site and you're making a building, and you have plans to put walls in certain places, and then people turn up and they're like, they sit down and like start doing things. You're like, they come back the next day and you've built a wall there, and you're like, why is there a wall here? It's like, it was always meant to be there. So it's this really weird thing of like, you people are doing really cool stuff, and also stuff that we never want to do in the game. So it's really neat to see things that like, oh yeah, that's outside of the scope of stuff we want to do. But it's also funny when it's like, we break your stuff, but it was like, but this was always meant to be there. It's really cool, but it's such an interesting experience to get used to as a developer. It's so much easier just to hide away and then throw things over the wall, but like having a community it changes stuff up. It's neat. Next one. Sorry, do you want to chip in?
You're moving really quickly. I really wanted to comment on the beard one, but you sort of just moved on. So no, it's you're having modders is wonderful. It came from the modding community ourselves, and just seeing that happening, and it's amazing. But it's also really strange. It is really strange sort of being on the other side of that.
Yeah.
And sort of and also we don't like breaking stuff.
No, it sucks.
We do that now, unfortunately, and that's
Yeah.
but, yeah.
Every time we fuck up someone's board, it's like someone's story, it is just catastrophic. I hate it so much. It's just like, just bums you out. Okay, Hell's Breath. For the new polymorph feature, can you actually more fade in out the two mobs? Yeah, we'd love to do that. It definitely needs some more visual flair. Yeah. The answer is yes. Who is your favorite TaleSpire streamer and why is it? Uite. I'm sorry, I'm just mangling names. How do I pronounce that? Why am I asking chat? You're just going to say the same thing in text. Well, that's already answered, so there you go. Actually, do you have a serious answer, Johnny?
I don't like picking favorites.
I was going to put you on the spot there.
I don't like that. Although, if I were to say, I do spend a whole lot of time watching Guillaume Workshop because I love the chat place D&D stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I apologize to everyone else, but yeah, I do spend a lot of time there.
Okay, what's the status on weather effects? Oh, yeah, we do have some stuff on that. That's cool. I recently finished a 35-session-long campaign in TaleSpire. That's so cool! Where weather, storms, heavy rain, snow, and blizzard played a large part. At this point, we could only emulate it with fog and color filters. When will we see the first iteration and what will be included? Johnny?
Okay, so I started working on that stuff, and one of the things is that the particle system in Unity, the previous one, I should say, isn't great. It isn't great. There's certain things that it doesn't have that we would have to make. One of those things is proper GPU simulation, things like depth buffer collision, using the actual depth buffer of the screen to do collisions, meaning that you can do a ton of them. And one of the solutions there was using the new system, which is wonderful, called the VFX graph. The VFX graph, however, they've decided should not go into the standard rendering pipeline, the one we're using.
Of course.
So I had a devlog on this particular subject because I found that someone had ported the VFX graph over to the standard rendering. So I imported that, and it almost worked. It almost worked out of the box. I was able to make some changes so that I could get depth-based collisions, which was wonderful. And then I wanted to actually style the rain, and to do that inside of the VFX graph, you have to use the shader graph, which also comes with it, which sort of does work. Well, it actually does work with the standard rendering. However, there's its own rendering path that matches into the VFX graph, and that doesn't work. So I couldn't actually make it look like rain. I could make it look like a lot of other things, but not like rain easily. So I shelved that, wanting to come back to it because I was banging my head against the wall trying to figure out how to get that to register its thing. And a realization came to me with, okay, this is definitely not officially supported. And they could also take away support for this. Like the stuff that we're doing to make it work could also disappear. It's a bit volatile, but we're hoping to look into it some more to see whether or not we can make a stable version of that. Because if we can, then doing stuff like rain and snow would be a ton easier and it would be a lot better looking. There are ways of doing it with the current particle system, and I would probably do that if that's the only way. But ideally, yeah, we can get this stuff working. So that's where we're sort of at with that.
I've got a quick random, like a meta question, folks. Did Johnny's audio get significantly less echoey or better during that, during while he was talking? Like probably about halfway through. I was realized there might have been some feedback. Oh, Ocean Lord, yes. Okay, cool. Right. Then I need to get my ass onto. I need to switch over to headphones because we're getting some feedback stuff happening. And that is going to be interesting. Right, let's see. Is there any plans to increase the size of the development team? It seems like smaller quality of life updates get put on hold during back-end system updates, which causes frustration during dry spells. Actually, Johnny, do you want to take that one? And I will mute myself and go and find... Yeah, go and set myself up with some...
Yeah, sure. We're sort of musing about it at times. Generally, we still want to stay really small, mainly because adding another person doesn't necessarily add another person's ability to work. Whenever we add people that overlap with fields that we already have covered, it tends to become more of a managing task rather than whether or not we'll double our ability to do stuff. That's not to say that we're completely against adding more people, or especially having people come in and do features and things like that. But yeah, it's not something that we're looking for at the moment. Not sure if you can hear me in the background there, but
me?
I'm guessing
yeah, I
not.
definitely could.
Okay,
yeah,
so
I mean,
I have not.
There's an interesting balance to all that stuff. Like there's doing the right thing. There's conceptually growing a team would allow you to do more things, but you're trying to make an environment that you enjoy being in general. And so we do make trade-offs which are purely based on us just enjoying the job, because if we enjoy the job, we're going to keep doing it. And both of us have been in situations where if the job doesn't work for us, we just go and get another job. And we really don't want to do that with TaleSpire. We just want to keep doing this for a really long time. So yeah, there are some things but yeah, that is a thing. I am going to have to run inside because I've organized all my cables for once, but I organized them over in the house rather than the office. So I'm going to need to go and grab one of those. Do you think you could take a few questions while I run away?
Yeah, sure.
That's awesome. Thanks.
Be good. Cool. So, are there any plans to make crowd tiles? It's cumbersome and resource intensive to make cities look alive. So, I'm guessing this is basically tiles that contain people. In that case, it's not something we've talked about, because I don't think it's something we've thought about, to be honest. But I would love to see a feature request on that on the board on the feedback.talespire.com, and we'll see. We'll see. I'll get back to that. Awesome. Will there be an option to convert multiple assets into one creature? My friends and I would love kit batching, and we have created things like mutant plants, and unfortunately we can't easily move them around. That's another thing. We do have plans to make tiles movable together through subboards. We don't exactly know when this would happen, and that would be good for things like ships and vehicles and stuff like that. As far as doing that for creatures, it would be an interesting idea, and we are doing the creature creator at some point, and maybe that could be some part of that, or maybe we can look into grouping assets together. But that's not something we have on the current on the current timeline or current sort of. But please put in another feature request for that as well, unless it's already there, because it sounds like something we should talk about. Let's see. Any plans for more in-depth music for menu for music selection, such as putting multiple tracks into a playlist that will shuffle through the tracks rather than looping just one track? Yes, there is a plan on having a extended like music selection or like a music player that's going to be able to make it a lot easier to find music, loop music, and sort of generally less cumbersome than the drop down we have today. I don't have like an estimate as to when we want to do that, but it's something that would love to get Jason in on, being our music guy, and basically talk to him, talk with him about like how that would work, and also get some feedback on what people would like to see. Let's see. Will the in-game chat be given an export to readable file option for those that roleplay via text and want to keep records? That sounds like a good idea. Once again, would love to see a feature request for that, or a upvote if there is already one there, because that sounds like, yeah, maybe. Yeah, I don't know. There might be. Yeah, because that's not really. Yeah, because there might be privacy concerns I'm not familiar with, but I don't know how that would be different than just grabbing a screenshot. So, yeah, it sounds like that's something that might be good. Let's see. I'm just gonna click the camera here, and then can you talk more about the status on the aerial effect markers? Last we saw them, they seem nearly complete. In the case of the area effect markers, I'm guessing that's sort of what we are calling persistent rulers, potentially. And if that's the case, it's something that we're currently prototyping and hoping that it's not too far away. It won't have like a bunch of visual differences initially, but you will be able to place out like a specific ruler and then keep it on the board. That might be what you're referring to with the aerial effect markers. Let's see.
All right, folks, I am back, but I've got to set up this audio, and I think when I switch this output over, I'm going to lose Johnny's audio briefly. So I will test this out, and yeah, is it all right if I put you folks on just on hold for a second, and we come back? I'm going to put you on the technical issues screen, and we will be back in like a minute. Does that sound good with everyone?
Sounds like a plan.
Awesome. All right. See you, folks. Hey folks, right, we'll have to do it live. So can you hear me at the moment? I'm guessing, yeah, we're not getting anything from Ree right now, which makes sense. I'm going to have to go and fix his input. So hopefully, hey Johnny, can you speak again now?
I can.
Okay.
Let's see if people can also hear me.
Nice. All right, can everyone hear Johnny? I'm guessing yes at this point.
I don't know.
The dials look positive.
Okay, well in that case, I'm the awesome.
Get can hear us both. Brilliant. Okay. Then I will jump back into the questions. Oh, nice. We're going through a good view. All right. Here we go. So please tell me you're getting a cut of the profits from the Hero Forge minis. I spent double on minis what I spent on TaleSpire. No, we don't take a cut of that.
We don't.
So Hero Forge is not a thing that we do for us. That's like the reason Hero Forge support is in there is because so many people asked for it. It's not a business venture we're in for like, yes, this is how we will make our money. We're happy with making money off a game and trying to make a really good game. And if those are the kind of features that people want, we'll work to make sure they get in there. But yeah, this isn't a... Yeah.
And it still also doesn't change our plans, our future plans for like our own feature creation and things like that. It just, it doesn't like change the timeline of it. It's still something that we really want to do sooner rather than later. But yeah, it's more of a priority thing.
Yeah.
It is also a system that takes a while to build, and it also takes a while to fill, meaning that it takes a lot of assets to make it like usable. So, looking forward to being able to start working on that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Any plans to be able to fill selected volume with water to have varying levels of it on a single map? Absolutely, yeah. In the terrain system, we want to be able to have water volumes that you can just lay out like you would lay out a plot of land. So you can have like flying water and all that kind of stuff. We just make it like a different kind of terrain. As far as like, we're not going to have dynamic water like pouring into things. There are ways to do that fast. We don't want to spend that budget on that thing because we have plenty of other things we want to spend that performance budget on. Okay, after the Cyberpunk assets are done and published, what is the next priority asset pack? We are still missing some classical fantasy assets.
Would you like to chime in on this one, Dwarf?
Yeah, sure. So after the Cyberpunk pack gets released, we'll be alternating between fantasy and modern or / futuristic until version 1.0. So, and we're, going to be trying to release smaller, more frequent packs. Basically kind of at the cadence we were maybe like, a year or 6 months ago. Yeah, it's just that the Cyberpunk is massive, and like Johnny said, this one's going to involve a ton of assets. So this has been in the works for a while now. And but no, we have no plans on stopping supporting the fantasy assets at all. And in fact, I mean, there's a bunch of monsters I want in there right now, So I mean, we're going to continue to work on that, and also tile sets, of course. People are looking for this and that, and we hear you, and we'll be working on things like as fast and as best we can for fantasy and Cyberpunk going forward.
There you go.
Excellent.
Fantastic.
I think that answered that.
Absolutely. Okay, next one. Got a difficult one for you. How's your day going? It's been a bit mixed. I've been on the road for 6 hours today, and that wasn't the problem. But I've just been, they're not all winners.
Yeah, I've had a pretty decent day, I think so.
That's cool. Jason, how's your day?
Oh, yeah. I'm always good, man.
That's our morale officer, keeping us straight. Okay, is there any plans to make a color tinting feature? Yes, actually, that's coming up soon in the list. So I've got to... actually, there's a few things there. The first thing is being able to pick your color as a player. So the first thing to do there is when we have a... like your portraits on the left-hand side, we want you to be able to right-click on those, get a radial menu, and one of the things is to be able to pick your color. Once we've done that, we can start using that in different places. Like, so your rulers, for example, we can tint those, and just general visual effects and things like this. As far as tinting characters goes, yes, we do want to do that. Johnny, what's where are we on that?
It's just a bunch of work, I guess. It's it's a big chunk. It's one of those things that wouldn't come out like immediately. There's quite a bit of like moving parts as far as like taking. So with the character creatures, there's like two parts to it. We have set up a lot of the creatures pretty early on to sort of make it easier for them to convert into a type of texture that can be tinted. But we still need to sort of develop the system within the game, sort of combining textures, tinting them, and stuff like that in a pleasing way. There were some early experiments on that, and although they work pretty well, they did require quite a lot of texture memory, and I'm hoping to sort of mitigate that by utilizing more textures from disk, but then baking them into textures in memory. So that's just it's just one of those things that I'd love to get to, but things keeps coming in the way, type of thing, as far as work goes. One of the things I do want to mention is that as far as tinting tiles, that's not something we're planning on doing. Personally, I have been using about like tile variants as a way to sort of do that. So like predetermined color changes so that you can sort of switch between. But that's not something we've really spoken about internally beyond sort of like just bringing it up as a thing that would be fun to do. So yeah, that's the state of this.
Awesome. Also, top tip: don't get self-conscious about drinking midway through drinking. It makes you look really weird. Okay, so one of the stretch goals in the crowdfunding campaign was customize the rule system. When will we be able to have it in TaleSpire? Thanks. The when, I don't know. I mean, yes, it's coming. It's not been forgotten. My plan was I would be tackling it this summer. I was going to be like, I was meant to be going out to look at some of this stuff around April. I was going to be like, I'd planned some time away to just go and think about these things and start prototyping. Life did things, which was fine. But the big thing that's kind of messed us up is that the networking solution we use, which is called Photon, has been less reliable than we need it to be, and we're concerned because it makes, I don't know, when it goes down and we can't provide feedback to you guys on, like, we can't actively do things to resolve the situation. It feels like it makes our game look bad, and we don't like that. And it's kind of at the point where we're a small enough community that we can probably replace that service ourselves, which is a whole bunch of work, but I think is doable. So I'm looking at replacing. So we use Photon for real-time communication. All the persistence and all the kind of low frequency communication, which is like chat messages and things like this, all go through our servers already. But yes, everything real time. So dice rolls, positions of characters as they move, all that kind of stuff. The actual messages to do with building, they're all synced over Photon. Yes, it is going to be a big thing. And that's what I'm worried about. I think that's going to take up... Basically, I wanted to start the rule system. I think I'm going to have to replace that. And it's kind of like... It's easy to say, oh no, but we have so many like other things to do. But if we can't play the game, if you guys can't play the game, what's the point? And it's very frustrating. So yes, I don't know. It's felt like the last month it's been a bit more stable, but then like for a few months it was just down quite frequently. It felt like, yeah, that's difficult. What was I answering that to? Oh, that was the rule set stuff. Yeah, like why that's not got to that. Yeah, I've started looking at what I'm doing there. Yeah. More of a dev question. Do you work in sprints, or are you guys waterfall or agile? No, none of that. The answer, and I suppose until more recently, is we work unhealthily, and the more recently is we're trying to work more healthily. I guess that's it.
That's fair. That's a fair answer.
We're a tiny team. One of the advantages you get when you're a tiny company, I mean, if you get a chance, try it. It's really interesting. Is that you do have flexibility. That is one of the things that you have as an advantage over big companies, is you can just turn on a dime and choose to do something else, and that's really nice mentally. And so yeah, if something comes up that you can change plans and things like this. So yeah, there's not a strict system like that. We pick the next big feature and we work on things, and we just try and get you good stuff, and then we change onto a different task if there's something that's burning so much it's hurting the community. That's kind of it, really. And then McCabe's saying, talking about Demon Gun's blue tile dream, if persistent rulers come with a cube ruler, there's a chance the tech could be used to make a persistent water volume with some shader. It's...
There's a lot of hacky solution we can do. And we sort of want to be something like I absolutely understand wanting something in game to represent water and water volumes and stuff like that. And it's not like we can't do it; we just want to do it right.
Yeah.
And that means that things are slow. Unfortunately, it's really easy to put a version of something in game. It's tricky to take it out again. And what I mean by that, if we're not happy with the solution, it's problematic because it's stored in a lot of boards. People are sort of using it to a massive degree, and it's really tricky to take that stuff out again if it's something we don't like.
And as soon as something's there, if it's a bad experience, people are having a bad experience, and it comes back to you, and then so you're getting more. It's one of those things. If you're a polished thing that doesn't have many features, people can complain that they don't have features. If you're a thing with loads of stuff and everything's crap, it just feels like crap. And it really sucks. And it's very easy to do that to your game. It's just add a thing, add a thing, add a thing. And then you get something that nothing really works together and it just feels bad. And again, like part of that is just, again, we've got to stay sane while we're doing this. So it's, I wouldn't recommend doing the rule away. I think the actual blue tile or a water tile is more likely. We could put one of those in and it would work. It would not be performant in the way I would like at all. There's a lot of problems with the kind of ruler approach to that. Yeah, it has a lot of things to it. Nice, cool though.
Yeah, I think as to comment on the water tile thing again, one of the benefits is that we do already have a system for deprecating tiles.
Yes,
so things
so
when we're sort of removing them, like as a feature, and it will still work with old boards. It will still work with slabs. Yeah. It will just not be accessible in the library anymore. So we have a way of handling that once we sort of feel like we're done with the thing, So yeah, it's fine. Like that's we'll certainly talk about that subject internally again soon.
It's got a lot more likely than it was before this stream. ETA on group movement, I missed it. We don't have a strict ETA on that. I know that we rebased the group movement code yesterday, something like that, which broke a load of things, and we're going to get those going again and see where we are. So the big thing for me on the data side of group movement is this. You grab 100 units, you move them. That's fine. We have to serialize that data back to the server at some point. But for all the non-uniques, they're just stored basically... Let's say they're stored in a file. They're actually stored in multiple files based on what sector they are on the board, but that's an implementation detail of board streaming. So we have... Sorry, I just saw a question that came up in the thing. This is great. My mind's gone blank. Yes, so syncing non-uniques, doing group movement for non-uniques is easy. When you get to uniques, it's a little different. So with uniques, the main thing is that you can see them across an entire campaign. And for that reason, we store them in the database. That means every time you move a unique, we're sending that data up to the server, and that has to be stored in the database. Now, if you start moving lots of them, like 100 of them, those messages would get very large. That starts becoming problematic. The way we want to move non-uniques should be a little more efficient than that. Still working on that, actually. There's efficiency stuff has still got to be done. That just reminded me, actually, how much efficiency stuff I still need to do on the messaging side of group movement. But yeah, anyway. Yeah, unique creatures are more complicated to deal with than non-unique creatures. And so one thought is, okay, we limit the number of non-uniques you can have in a single group. That's probably what we're going to do to start with. So you say 10. Cool. So now you have a tool where you try and select a group of units, but let's say you had more than 10 uniques in there. Now one of them doesn't get selected, and it's like, why? You look at it and you just go, okay, it almost worked, but this one wasn't included. So you try again, and TaleSpire feels broken. I don't know. We're going to have to do some kind of messaging thing there to show that. But yeah, it's just a bit annoying. There's just kind of details, real life, that you can't cheat physics. But if you've got information, you have to move information around, and moving information around is tricky. Yeah, we'll get there on that one. So yeah, group movement, it's coming. We've got to refactor some things. We've got to do a bit of efficiency work, and we really want to have pixel perfect, like lasso style selections of creatures. We're working out how to do that now. Currently, it's just using the cube volume thing, and it's possible that we put out a prototype using the cube volume thing onto a branch, but we would like to have the pixel perfect picking.
Yeah, I think as far as usability, having the lasso tool would be ideal.
That's what
then
it's
you
called,
can then you can add and remove from the selection really quickly. With the volume, it's a little bit more cumbersome, but it's a way that we currently have for like selecting things in 3D space. So that's why it's how it's currently been made. The previous version of it prior to us like breaking it was working pretty well, and if we can get it back to even that point, it might be a good time to put it out for testing.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, because it won't be pushing the server too hard, so that'll be okay. Yeah, we can do that. This is what happens all the time. Johnny's like, I've got a thing working, and I'm like, but the data. No, people can't have fun because my data. Will there ever be a private server capability? Would like to have that's probably because we're talking about peer-to-peer and stuff like this. So that's probably, I don't know. That's a good question. We're definitely not against the idea.
Yeah, it might be a solution for later.
Yeah. Any plans for letting folks turn off snap to grid walls? For walls tiles. We're not. No, tiles are going to stay on the grid. Props are going. That's the separation between the tiles and props thing. So there are reasons for that, but we can talk about that. I think probably previous streams has covered it quite well, but not sure if we want to leave a message if you want to cover it again.
Sure, I think I think one of the things there is that there is a dire need for another iteration on the building system, just because there's a lot of like cases I'd like to solve.
Yeah,
and we're not going to be seeing like off the grid tile stuff, but there might be some things to mitigate some of the more problematic situations.
Yeah,
I don't want to go into exactly what that is because it's really vague in my head.
Okay, so next one. Can you list the... Let me just mark that one. Oh, no, it's awesome. Thank you, mods. Can you list the major features you're working on right now?
Before you do that, I just like to thank the mods.
Yeah.
Because they're such an amazing group of people.
The game would not be in the state it's in if it wasn't for the mods. They keep us... Yeah. They cover so much stuff, and little things that you'll never have seen, like certain business things have happened. Certain people we've met in the space have been because of the mods handling and fielding questions and things that have come in. Thank you. Yes. These people are awesome. Can you list the major features you're working on right now? So what am I on at the moment? So rulers. So it's the tactical ruler stuff, which is now turning into the AOE persistent marker stuff. That's the main one. It's not a major feature. I'm doing the recycle bin at the moment, so anything you've deleted in the last 7 days, you can undelete again.
Which is, that's pretty major, actually.
It'll certainly take care of some support cases. I'm drawing a blank. There's lots of little... Oh, polymorph. Yeah, we're getting polymorph finished off. There's some... there's a whole bunch of improvements to some of the Hero Forge stuff that's kind of in the polymorph branch that we haven't really talked about because it's not the most exciting thing right now. But yeah. What else? Yeah, things. What about you?
Yeah, I guess it's sort of what we've currently been trying to push for getting out is the polymorph, root movement, and the persistent rulers.
Yeah.
So I guess those are sort of like the big ones we're doing on the code side. The big one for like me personally is just all of the logistics of the Cyberpunk set. I don't know if you want to chime in on what you're doing at the moment, Jason.
Yeah, I mean, I'm filling up what we need for the Cyberpunk pack, miniatures, vehicles, props, and I'm gonna have to make some music tracks and of course some ambient sound effects that's going to So we need all that stuff still. But yeah, I mean, that's that. And apparently, probably water tiles. No, no, I'm just joking.
Alrighty.
Awesome. Are you going to create triangle tiles of all the already existing tiles? I mean, yeah, Johnny can answer that. But
Yeah, so that was not intentional.
there we go.
That was not intentional. I know that Jason is incredibly keen to make
Yeah.
like diagonal tiles out of all of the tile sets. The amount of stuff that would require is large. The solution in the aberration set with having that path tile to create diagonal tiles, I knew that it was going to happen once I made it, but it was made to be a filler, and it's like, okay, so this is going to happen now. But obviously, having like a single tile like that isn't going to make particularly good looking vertical or diagonal walls, because you'll have a lot of repetition and stuff like that. So that wasn't the plan. We'll have to revisit diagonal walls again, because I know that Jason like particularly is really keen on it, and I get it. So that's where I'm going to leave it.
Maybe the one thing on timeline is I think I'm guessing here, but I'm guessing that you folks are going to be happier with us releasing new stuff rather than diagonals of existing stuff, or at least we'll get more complaints about there not being new stuff than we will about the diagonals. So sorry.
Yeah, there's also something about like how those should work, because it's not like making one single diagonal wall is going to cover the cases, because we're placing things on the grid, which means that that's not going to actually cover most of the cases that we need. So it's expanding a tile set with a significant amount of tiles to be able to make that happen.
Yeah. It's
well,
it creates
look,
new interesting problems. Oh no, go for it, Jace.
Yeah. No. I mean, it's true. It's just that, like, once we figure it out, I mean, I'll just listen. I'll sneak stuff in there. These guys don't need to know. Don't worry about it. And then we can all have our, we can run Shrine of the Kuatoa. Yeah.
All right. That's awesome.
All right. Yeah.
Okay, so from Porridge, I've DM'd about 1,000 hours in TaleSpire. Holy cow! And the most underutilized feature is the attack feature, Magic Missile Melee Attack. Is there any interest in developing a way for users to couple the attack feature with a die roll? Example: player creates a longsword attack that plays the melee animation while rolling the appropriate dice. You start, Johnny, and yeah.
As in, personally, that was like something that I think at least when Jason and I did the initial like prototypes of what TaleSpire was, it was something that we really wanted to see. I'm not entirely sure how that would work. It would be cool if once we have the customizable rule system, that's like parts you can potentially make a connection with. So like doing certain things, rolling it, and it sort of ends up in something happening in along the lines of the attack and the magic missile. Having said that, before I let Chris loose, those are also things. The attacks and the magic and stuff like that, those types of effects is something I love to expand massively on. It takes a lot of time to make good-looking effects, but it's really worth it. And I'm hoping at some point, a little bit later this year, to do like multiple weeks of just effect related work.
So
and that goes for attacks. It also goes for status effects, which is another thing that really sorely needs to be done.
I still got to get you that list of emotes and status effects and things that I was noting down. I will.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That's
fantastic.
Another thing for the to do. Yes, and I was going to ramble briefly about dice. Dice macros have not been forgotten. I was designing a dice roll language recently because I looked at some of the ones that are in other things, and I want something different. I'm sure they're great for what they do. I think I come from a kind of language designy kind of background, and I think there is a space there for us to have an interesting dice macro system that covers all the kind of things they're already there in a more uniform language, and that we can use basically as an AST for building other kind of macro languages on top. Yeah, this is a space I'd love to nerd out in, so I won't go too heavily on that. But I do have some ideas for dice roll stuff, and I have started designing it all on paper at the moment. But yes, I'll have to start coding. If I actually get back to doing some coder streams again, then I will. Maybe I code that up in Lisp to start with. Nice. All right. Two Hands says, will we be able to play more than one ambient and music track at the same time with this new audio player? We haven't decided that yet. I mean, I think that's a great feature request. I know Jason and I are both really excited about sitting down and like designing an audio player for TaleSpire. Like last time we mentioned it, we were just like, but yeah. So we will. Thanks for noting it down. Please throw a feature request. We will consider it. Anton asks, will we be splitting some of the more complex props into their individual components? Example, workbench, hammer, and wire. Yeah. What were you going to say?
I think as in, put in a request for that stuff, and we'll consider doing it if it makes sense. If it makes sense.
Yeah, there's a rule.
That with the Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go, Jace. This is great.
Well, no, we did that with the merchant tables, right? Didn't we? We split up some of the existing props like that and released some Yeah. So we have some of that stuff. Again, if you put in a feature request, it's going to be, we won't forget it, and it will be. But I see what you're saying with the workshop. Yeah, having a little ruler and like a cup with, I forget what's on there, but little things like that. Further kind of like that. It would be good to do. Maybe.
I would probably just as a. I would probably put that in the art request.
Art, yeah.
Oh yeah. It makes it easy to get to the artist directly.
Yeah. There's such an interesting balance there when we're making toys essentially. This is just one big toy pit, and it's a really interesting balance of going too granular. Because again, one of the advantages are for idiots like me who have no artistic skill. I can still go into TaleSpire and make something that feels nice and looks nice, and I can't do that in other things, and it's really neat. And so like having things that are combined and bigger is awesome for me. Saying that, we still want to get slabs in as a like first class kind of citizen, so it has a screenshot and you can click on it and you can bring out a slab in game, and we've got loads of things to do there. Oh man, I'd love to get back on that. There's so many things to do. It's so cool.
No, there's a lot of cool things.
Thank you for buying the game and letting us build this thing. It's really neat.
Yep.
So HoloFox, So with mod up, what implications could you foresee for the modding community? Oh, maybe that's a typo from mod.io. What implications do you see for the modding community? Mods. I don't know, actually. Like implications, I don't. I mean, the big advantage is it's not tied to a specific system. So we would like to be able to. We're selling on Steam right now. We're in early access. That's how we're doing it. It would be really neat if we could have it on Steam and other places in future. So if you don't like Steam or you don't like X service, you have another choice. That would be really cool.
I think something to mention about the mod.io implementation is that we're using that more as a template for setting up potential other repositories, right? So people can also
so the goal is that, like, I know we're going to host our official repository there, and we would support we'd support other repositories from hosted on mod.io as well. The idea is that the package manager API is general, so it's not tied to mod.io. It's just one of the places we can pull things from. I would think that we'd be able to have if you have like a GitHub thing. I was about to say have a GitHub thing where we can pull stuff from, but I don't want to be one of those. There was some brouhaha back in the day about package managers using Git as a data store, and I don't want to be a bad citizen there. So we'll find things to do. But having it not tied to the delivery platform, to the store, is a huge advantage. Also, Steam's tools are painful in a lot of cases for the people making games. I mean, like, selling stuff is great. There's certain things, parts of it that are just really difficult, and I don't want our assets tied there. It would be really, really unfortunate. And it would split the modding community, which is sad. So the implications are hopefully good things. We just need to be able to get some mods going. But Would the area effect rulers possibly have a tab where you can write what is happening on the specific ruler, how many turns has passed, etc.? Ooh, there's a couple of things there. Definitely make a request for this stuff. The labels on the ruler, that is a really cool one. I kind of like it. Yeah, why not? That sounds neat. Yeah, right click, add, tag, like, yeah, type in a name. Sure. Sounds good. How many turns has passed? We would love to have some integration into the initiative system.
Yeah, having actually the initiative system is something that needs more love, and that was actually part of the thing that I was working on redoing the library system, and also have like this is part of doing the UI for the morphs in polymorph, which is being able to replace the initiative system with something that allows more flexibility. That sort of things like people having like multiple turns in a single round, people not having in a round, and also having like a marker for a round so that it can be counted and stuff like that. So hopefully expanding that so that it's more flexible. And this might be able to tie into that with having the concept of rounds on a specific, like on something like the persistent rulers as a thing that we can just track. But I don't know, because so many systems exist, it might also be that that would be better as a feature of the rule system in the future. But having text, I think, is like a good place to start.
Yeah.
Labels.
Awesome. So yeah, nice feature request. Will there be a color option for certain props? The ability to have different shades. So we're not looking at tinting for props at the moment. But yeah.
Yeah, I did mention before that we have been using over variants. So not tinting specifically, but also like creating variants so that can be easily swapped.
GM Workshop, do you find it overwhelming or encouraging, or a combination of the both, to have so many? I get to have. Sorry, I'll actually finish the sentence rather than try and answer it midway through. Do you find it overwhelming or encouraging, or a combination of both, to have so many features being requested? It depends on the day. I mean, it's always encouraging. It's sometimes overwhelming. Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
there's just a lot.
Personally, yeah, go for
it. Yeah, it's mainly just the weight of, holy Christ, I wish I could get all the things I want to do done. Like, I wish I could be working on everything. I wish there were like 120 hours in a day, because I would work all of them. That would be so cool. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's sort of completely ruined our focus on healthy work ethics, which is what we sort of been trying to do this year.
Yeah.
Just
want to code.
Yeah, I would say that to me, it's absolutely encouraging. I know that we can't get to like most of them anyway, but just the engagement and like seeing like, oh yeah, that would be great. That's a great addition to the game, and that's something we should talk about and consider. The problem being, of course, is that the stuff we've got planned is such a monumental task list. So it's I guess it's fun. It's the most fun when there's like tiny things that can be done like in between, just like small wins. Those are great. The bigger ones are a bit more daunting, but I would say overall it's just encouraging to me personally.
Yeah, actually, this is random, but generally when you see a flurry of activity from us, it's because there's a whole bunch of work that's gone in, like building up some set of features, and then we can start making a load of quick wins. It's really funny, like, say Johnny was mentioning that he's been redoing a bunch of the UI stuff, and you wouldn't know because it looks the same, but it works so much better, and it can handle a larger number of things, and there's little details that allow us to do things down the line, which we're really excited about. Yes. Yeah.
Yep.
Your business model is such that someone buys TaleSpire once and they never need to do it again. Is there a plan for how Bouncy Rock will bring in revenue after you've reached market saturation or platforms? That's very cute. Thank you. Okay, so there's a few different bits. The first is, like, at the moment we're doing you buy the game, and that's fine. Like, other people have requested the ability to buy seats. So as a GM, they can purchase 8 seats and then allow people to use those seats temporarily, especially professional GMs. That would be very helpful for. We would love to do that as well. We do not want to have a either or situation with these purchasing. I am the kind of person that just wants to buy a game and own it, and that is that. And other people like doing kind of rolling subscriptions and things like that. So that would be one alternate thing. But the seats thing would probably be a subscription-y type situation. It's something we're considering. Then there's also like we're obviously committed to making the base packs, asset packs, like as full so you can run like campaigns in them. And then for things that are more specific, like, you know, we will have a selection of basic vampires. But if you needed like a pack of 15 very like more niche vampires, then we would have a vampire pack. And it would be cool to be able to sell those down the line. So not things that are required to be able to run a campaign, but extras would be stuff that we can sell alongside later on. And then, yeah, there's always the possibility of other people being able to sell their mods as well. We haven't looked too heavily into how we want to kind of work with them on doing that, but it would be neat. Am I missing anything?
Yeah. No, I think that's fair. Our model so far has just been to get TaleSpire out of early access at a point where we like feel like this is pretty like feature complete, and then see where we're at, and then hopefully be able to add more content. We do want the game itself with all of its additions and stuff to remain just a one-time purchase. So we don't. Yeah, we're not entirely sure what that point is at the moment.
Yeah, and I suppose another thing is kind of tangential is not getting carried away and trying to take on the world. We're quite happy to be a small company doing a cool thing. We don't need to hire 50 people and then get mired down in kind of like management issues and things like this, or trying to court big partners. One of the weird dynamics you have is like as soon as you increase your costs, like, oh, we're gonna have a big team, or we're gonna do like, you need to be able to make that money, and it becomes a really critical need for your company to keep going. And so you have to change your priorities. Like, okay, then doing these kind of deals with, you know, some IP owner, maybe the terms aren't entirely favorable to the community, but you kind of have to suck that up because you've got to make that money, and we don't want to be in that position. I'd rather we just had a nice thing that you folks enjoy and we can keep making it. Who needs money when you have a blue tile? Exactly. Why didn't I just say that?
That sums it up, I think.
Fantastic.
I mean, the blue tile.
The blue tile.
Yeah.
What plans do you have for hide volumes? Different shapes less obstructive with each other. I need to learn to speak. Got any plans at the moment with hide volumes jumping to mind?
Well, the things that I'd want to experiment with is actually having hide volumes that work more like cut volumes, so that they can cut into meshes, not just hide the tiles themselves, and that would allow potentially for some more flexibility when building out things that you want to hide. That is something that we haven't tested. It's something that we've just been using over, because the cut volume itself is also somewhat broken. So that's sort of the things that come to mind with that specifically. Yeah,
it's also going to be interesting and I'm sure there are some questions about Fog of War in here. The interplay between Fog of War and hide volumes is going to be interesting. So we'll have to see what we do there.
Yes, and there's been some experiments on like Fog of War stuff using the, let's quote unquote, technology used for the fog. In the sense that we take and draw out, we just colorize world pixels basically based on what's around it, but those are also so early in prototyping that it's not even really.
So that's a non-persistent Fog of War. So that's just like
exactly.
Cool.
So there's experiments that's been done, and some things look like it's a plausible thing, but nothing set in stone, or like something we're absolutely doing.
Persistent Fog of War is hard. 3D Fog of War is hard. Persistent 3D Fog of War is just drives me crazy. I need to again, something I'd love to get back into, but at the moment it's just better we improve the game, and we will. I know Fog of War is really important to people. Yes, I really want to do it, but I know how much time it's going to take to dive back into that. And then, like, while I'm doing that, we don't get some other stuff done. There are some features that are like started, and we need to get those out. We need to get them done, and then we can start taking on bigger chunks again.
Absolutely.
And then there's Photon. Okay. After 1.0 launch, will you be developing both in... I'm probably reading this wrong. After 1.0 launch, will you be developing both included and DLC packs, extra costs for intensive modeling? Also, thanks for doing this, cheering up quite a bit. Oh, well, I hope you have a better day, whatever's going on. Yeah, so what are your thoughts? Like, because we want to get the base thing done, and then would we be expanding on the base set and the DLC? I would imagine so.
Yes, as in like any features that we add to the game certainly would be included post-launch.
Oh yeah, of course.
When it comes to asset packs and stuff like that, it would be nice to continue like putting stuff into the main game. It depends on sort of like what we end up doing there. If we end up like expanding the amount of people making assets to like make bigger packs, so it's way too early to say. I think it depends on what point we're at that time and what we feel about base content, whether or not we would do that.
Also, once like again, what the community does as far as modding is concerned is also going to be interesting, including remixing stuff that we've made as well, depending on how we make that available, especially with like being able to have mods which are just slabs and appear in the library and all this kind of stuff. There's a lot of things that can be filled in with that. Yeah, that's really interesting.
Yeah, there's also ways to redux. Speaking of the modding part, once we have like a way to get tiles and stuff into the game, there are ways to just go in and make additional tiles using our assets, or like combining things and sort of shifting things around and then making new tiles that way. So that's probably going to be a less knowledge intensive way to take part in the modding community.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, Two Hands. This isn't a question, but I wanted to give my regards to the music guy. Hello, music guy. Jason, I believe it was. It's been absolutely fantastic to listen to in play and while building. Thank you. Yeah.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, thank you very much. I'm flattered, really. It's really awesome to hear that. I want to keep making music for TaleSpire as long as I can. It's really like as a musician, this is kind of the perfect project for me. I've tried bands and things like that, but getting like vocalists and singers and other things like that, man, sometimes they can make or break a song or music or whatever like that. And so, and then, combining different styles that I like into this kind of music is really cool. And people have always said, like, since I was young, like, hey man, that sounds like video game music, if I wrote something, just playing something out of my little amp and stuff like that. So it's really cool that people enjoy it, and thank you for saying that.
Yeah, the music is like the most polished part of TaleSpire right now. It's really cool.
Yeah, for sure.
Some of it. So, there are some tracks I want out. But yeah, no. And that's the other thing, man, is like, I've been putting music into this for, a few years at least. And, working on a project like this for as long as we have, it's funny because like you improve things as you go along. And as you're working on this, you're like, oh, I'm going to like improve my sound library. I'm going to, investigate this kind of, way of composing or maybe work with these new scales and the biggest thing that has happened over time is obviously the music production quality, because I'm using like much better libraries now. But yeah, so I mean, you have a lot of tracks in there and they vary in quality, both musically and production wise. So it's an interesting thing when we release the official soundtrack, people who aren't really aware are probably going to be like, what the hell is this? Like, is this a collection of different art? Because it will sound like that for sure. There is no there's no real consistency from track to track right now. I am going off on a rant, but this is something I've thought about, and I may as well just get it out there. But
That's
yeah,
awesome.
no, just talking about music, man. But anyways, yeah. I
So
can go
cool.
all night.
Dude, I again, from a very different side, I completely feel you. When I look through the code base, especially, I just see like the stuff I was writing to begin with. It's just like, I don't know. I just like, I want to fire that guy. And then there's like, you try out different techniques and things like this, and some work and some age well and some don't, and it's just like, yeah, it's cool.
Yeah,
Um,
that guy might be beat though. That's the problem.
Yeah, and I've seen a couple of questions in chat too about like importing custom music. Absolutely. We want when we release Tailweaver, you know, um, I mean that's the
Yes.
thing where we
Yeah,
custom assets all over the
Yeah.
place. So
there
So yeah,
there might be other ways in the future of doing that as well. We'll
yeah,
have
oh
to
yeah,
look into
yeah.
to that though.
You still definitely want to be able to have like you just be able to drop an audio track in and then sync it to the other people and play it. I get terrified just because like quantifying like the bandwidth cost of those things is
right,
interesting, and
yeah,
streaming audio. I mean, like it's going to be looking into some streaming audio stuff, of course, with voice chat. So, oh man, so many things to do. It's great. Hello, cats team. Are you going to create a dog to balance? We need dogs.
yes,
Yeah, we do
yes,
need dogs.
yeah.
Short,
We got to get
short
a
answer,
couple
yes.
of them in.
We need
Yeah.
that's actually something missing from our stream in general. We need dog cam. Jason, you have your dog on camera.
Oh yeah,
That'd be missing.
absolutely.
We'll have to sort that out for next time.
Yes, we will.
Yeah, I'm not sure if Ida would stay in the same place long enough
No.
for me to have a camera on him. Cool.
Okay. So Diane Payne 69, is there any plan for replace with, such as replace all grass with snow tiles? No. It's something it's been asked before. It works, or like you could make it work in really specific situations, but like if there's any kind of geometry difference, the result is really weird, and it just I still haven't convinced myself. I suppose I should just do it, but I mean, like, I don't know. It's not hard to code. It just feels like it's building a tool that will not work correctly most of the time. It's like you get that one case where it works really well, and it's like, yeah, this is awesome, and then for all the other cases, it just makes things bad. And also, the undo redo for that actually would be horrendous. So maybe that's not happening regardless. I've just thought about that. Actually, no. Probably not. Probably not. Oh, here's one from Tabletop RPG Music. What is the inspiration behind the amazing art style for the assets?
Yeah, so like tabletop miniatures.
Yeah, tabletop miniatures, and like when we first kind of started this whole thing, I remember Johnny and I were talking about the art style and how we would want something like Jim Henson's Dungeons and Dragons, and so we've tried to make absolutely the tabletop miniatures art style, but and I don't know if we've lost that along the way. I think we may have. I can't. I don't know, but I
I,
try to keep things a little more like. Yeah, go ahead.
no, I think you're right about it. I don't think we've sort of kept to that necessarily the Jim Henson aesthetic as much as we would like, and I think that's also partially because we, at some point, we figured, okay, to be able to do the tabletop thing, we do need to like cover the stuff that's available, and we could certainly have like done those in the style of Jim Henson, but it became more important to make it like these are the things that people expect inside of a sort of fantasy setting. I'd love to go back more into that direction as we did initially.
Right.
The tabletop aspect of it, I think we're still sort of doing pretty well with. We do need to pull back on it sometimes to make sure that we're not going to find like granular with things, and to make like how would we make this as a toy? Like if we were to make this for the table, how would we make it?
Right.
Are things that we have to sort of pull back on sometimes, pull towards sometimes to get it back into sync. The Do you want to add anything to that? Just because there is something
No. I mean, like you said, trying to make it being mindful of like making it for like something you would slap down on the tabletop. Like if you opened up your hero quest box, and what kind of assets would you see in there? So it's talking about tables and other things like that. These are pre-populated assets that you would slap down, and they already look pretty decent. It's a bookcase with tons of books in it, maybe a rat or a skull on top. And then you slap down a table and it's got some things on it.
Mhm.
Yeah, we've been trying to just keep to that kind of ease of use aesthetic.
Yeah, and that's also one of the reasons why making like bigger tiles rather than like individual props is that we can sort of unify things. We can make a larger piece look neat and cool and sort of a little bit unique. Where when we break it up, it's sort of we give that ability to the player for sure, but also things end up looking a little less like tailored. I would say another reason why the art style looks the way it does is because we needed something that could be achieved with the size of team that we have. So everything is made to be as efficient as we can make it when doing assets. That's why we don't have, well, it's one of the reasons why we don't have character animations so that we don't have to rig them and stuff like that. Of course, with the creature creator, we would have to do that anyway. But it's being able to like spend like 85% on the actual sculpt, the thing that you would sculpt, and then running it through a lot of automated generated stuff to get assets in quickly. So being efficient in making assets was sort of another design goal for the art style, which is also one of the reasons why it looks the way it does.
Fantastic.
And thanks for the question. I think that's awesome. We have fantastic artists.
Yeah.
That's just and we're really fortunate to have that.
To catch something I just saw going past in the chat regarding unsnapped tiles, the answer was no. We're not doing unsnapped tiles. We want to improve tooling to make things as good as possible, but no, we're not unsnapping the tiles. Yeah, the asset stuff. I'll try it out because otherwise I'll go on a witter on about how cool it is for ages as well. Just the idea of like the abstraction of miniatures is really interesting conceptually. From a game design and storytelling point of view, and I just get really head up about that stuff. It's so neat. Any idea for future fantasy themes like Underdark or Magical Forest?
Yes.
Jason.
Yes, we have absolutely. Well, you hit one of them right off the bat, and so we're going to be doing something that's like a bellow gloom pack that's more something along the lines of Underdark. So there'll be giant mushrooms and everything you'd expect from down below there in the Underdark. So there'll be that. Magical Forest. Yeah, I mean I'd love to expand. I'd love to expand more on like the forest props that we have already. I'd like bigger trees. I'd like more kind of naughty like fairy tale looking kind of trees and other things like that. So yeah, I mean we're gonna keep expanding, absolutely. And the thing is yeah, go ahead, Johnny.
No, I was just gonna say it would be really cool to do like a tree tile set basically to build
Yes.
so we can move into trees and also doing tree houses and stuff like that.
Yeah, something you can build Lothlorien with or Keebler elves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that'd be really neat.
And also, whenever if people are missing like themes and tiles and stuff like that, please put them in the asset request part of the feedback website, which is feedback.talespire.com, because we do go through those whenever we're looking into like planning some stuff out to see what's there and what people are looking for.
100%. Awesome. Okay, then another one from Prime Gaming Tabletop RPG Music, I think. Hope I got that right. I've noticed that the ambient sounds seamlessly loop back on themselves without a gap, whilst the stuff in the music menu has a 1 second-ish gap when a track starts again. Would love to add the looped versions of my tracks to TaleSpire mod Oh wait a second, I'm getting a little confused now. To my TaleSpire mod, but with that 1 second gap, the seamless loops don't work. Any chance that could be changed? Oh right, okay. So there's there is a gap in the music playback on loop. Yeah, let's fix that. That's fine. Yeah, go for it.
No, I was just that seems like it would be a bug. So
yeah, that does sound like a bug.
I'm surprised that it doesn't happen with the like the ambient ones, but on the music ones.
Well, is that because I'm not sure if this is the case, but isn't there a thing with Unity if you have MP3 files as opposed to WAV files? Because I think our WAV files do, I think, get converted to OGG, but I'm not sure if MP3 files in general have that tiny little bit of delay at the end. I'm not sure if that's
there certainly has been issues with that, but I would expect that to be the case with like if you added it to, like, yes. So there is definitely something like that.
Cool. We should probably look at keeping things, whatever media we have. Actually, we need to do this with tutorial videos as well, keeping them in open formats for supporting Linux, because otherwise you have to have the proprietary decoders and stuff on there, which isn't always the case.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we'll need to look into that.
But yeah, VP8 and VP9 and stuff like that will handle that fine for the videos, and yeah, we can just look into that.
Sure.
Planning. Would we see at some point particle emitters like smoke, fire, and such?
Yes, at some point.
But
I'm actually really excited.
Yeah, I was about to say. I was remembering how stoked you've been about that feature and going on about it. You just sounded so
yes,
rubbish.
Yeah, no, as in that's something that I absolutely want to do. It's just it takes time.
Yeah, and
I sort of have to. It's one of those things that I'll have to get lost in for some days. Yeah. So I need to like clear some days to do stuff like that. And the emitters that you would like place on the board is that's not. I'm not sure what like whether or not we'll be doing those. However, like things you can place during game, like game time, is something that we're planning on doing.
I saw a bunch of work. This is a while ago, and stuff that didn't make it out to the public, but I don't think anyway. But I remember Johnny was working on some cotton wool ball shaders, so we could have fire that looked like cotton wool, like the way you make it in miniatures and stuff like this. It was cool. It was going in a really nice direction. It wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't there yet, but it was pretty neat.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and that's sort of. I want to make some like base styles to the effects, so that we do like a combination of what you would do in stop motion and also like what you would expect so. We still need to keep that scale, so smoke need to be at the scale we expect it to be, and then like having stop motion effects with some realistic effects is what I'd like to do, but that requires a lot of art direction, and I'm also very picky about that stuff, so that I'm really hard on myself when it comes to doing those things.
A tool to draw ropes, chains, and such between 2 points would be amazing, and also clothes hanging on rope as a prop. True, that would be pretty neat.
Yeah, it would be cool. Yeah. It's something that's come up. Don't have any comments on it as far as like whether or not that's something we do.
It's interesting,
but it's
it's definitely kind of rabbit holes you could go down there.
Well, yeah,
there is because you would have to. Yeah, we'd have to generate that stuff at some point, and that's processing power.
Yeah,
and this also kind of thing.
There's that. Then there's like, my gut reaction is like, oh, we want some physics on that, and I'm not sure how much we do, because rope physics gets a bit jangly. There was that really nice stuff that Rock Pocket did with.
Oh God.
What was it? What was the? I'm sorry, I'm blanking on the name of the game.
No, it's Shiftlings.
Shiftlings, yeah, the rope on that was surprisingly stable.
And the thing is that like, okay, so I'm just going to touch on that shortly. If there's, for whatever reason, anytime that we did a project over at Rock Pocket, there was a rope involved, and every single time it was insanely difficult. Yeah. Having said that, doing like hanging ropes and stuff like that from one point to another, we could probably get away with really simple calculations and make them look pretty good. But yeah, there are a lot of implications of having a lot of that stuff.
Johnny, just to let you know, your camera's frozen.
Oh,
sorry, mate.
It might be. It might have gone.
It might have gone.
It might have gone.
Yeah,
All right. Let me see. Let me turn it off a bit
sure.
because I think it might have
Just overheated or something.
overheated.
Right.
Let me just turn it off for a little bit, and then I am frozen in a really nice way as well.
Yeah, I knew you'd love that picture that you've been left with.
Yeah, it's great. Let's see. I'm just gonna go over here. Let's see.
Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah.
Let's do that. I'm just
Yeah.
gonna put that there
Yeah, that's much better. Awesome.
for now, and then I'll get my picture back so
Yeah.
that everyone can look at me.
Yeah,
It's,
it's what we're here for. Okay.
yes, I'm sorry.
The Gamer 9619. I noticed a creator on Kickstarter that is similar to Hero Forge, but it's for custom items or tiles. Do you think you'll be joining forces with a company like that in the future, or will this never happen? That sounds so final. Like, that's really cool. You should if they were interested in that, they should reach out. You can let them know we exist as well, because we're still surprisingly small. Well, not surprisingly, actually. It makes sense how small we are. I think people in the community think we're further than we are. Maybe, I don't know. We're still tiny. So yeah, if you want to let people know, just don't be too pushy with it, and that's really nice. Yeah, I mean, why not? Especially once we have modding things, then there'll be a lot better story for that kind of stuff. But yeah, why not?
Yeah, it also depends on like how game ready it is, right? Because if it's made for printing, then that's something that has to be taken into consideration.
Yes. Okay, gotcha. Yeah. Yeah, like normally things for printing.
Yeah, having said that, I would love to check it out.
Yeah, totally.
This is news. This is like new to me. So.
Yeah, drop us a link. Send it. Let us know in the Discord of who and what and where. That's really neat. Holofox says we had created a type called auras for minis with mods allowing assets such as fire to be parented, I guess, rather than patented, to a mini. Would TaleSpire ever have something like that as a core feature? Yeah, I mean, like that sounds like things being parented to the mini is kind of like the status and emotes and stuff like that, isn't it?
Yeah, so the persistent emotes is basically the ability to do stuff like that.
Yeah.
So yes.
The story, it says, how do you balance requests from users versus your vision of art and design for TaleSpire? Do you want to start with that one, Johnny?
As in, there are certain I guess it's difficult to answer without sort of like getting into what our vision might be and things like that. But it's any time that we hear something that is cool, we just look at sort of whether or not we would feel good about what TaleSpire would be after adding that, or if it's something. Well, first of all, do we find it to be cool? Second of all, if we were to add that, how would TaleSpire change in our eyes? Would it sort of make us feel all fuzzy the way that we want to feel? So that's at least a very me answer to that.
Yeah, it's a very technical process.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's it's really interesting. I mean, like that's one of the things that was really inspiring to me when I was joining this team was the insight that came from the Neverwinter Night experience of modding. And how different versions had different levels of control. So, like, one had a more limited palette, essentially, and one had a lot more control. Like, you could place things anywhere, you could do all these things. And the one with a more limited palette ended up having a broader community of creators, a broader, like, the highs of perfection weren't reached in that one as often as in like if you can control everything, you can micromanage everything and you make things just perfect, but you have to really be an artist to do that, and it's not as many people who can do that as when you I'm really doing a bad job explaining this.
I think you have you absolutely have the gist of that idea.
We're trying to maintain certain aspects of things that we've learnt from other games, and how it affects the community and how it affects what gets made by the community and levels of motivation across a broad set of people. It's really interesting. And again, like the idea of miniatures as an abstraction over something that you're playing, because you can never reach, you will never one-to-one create that thing from the story, and it's the wrong thing to try and seek. like micromanaging every last piece of paper needs to be in the right place and all this, does that make the story great? And it's like, again, we sit around tables and we tell stories, and yeah, that doesn't need like perfect fidelity. In fact, the abstractions allow for certain things, and you don't want to throw that away. I'm getting off track, but yeah, anyway, there's something there that has to be maintained when features are added. I guess that's what I'm trying to get at, is tabletop's pretty neat. It's not just low resolution. There's something very special happening there.
Yeah, and to kind of piggyback on what you were talking about with the Neverwinter Nights stuff, if anybody in chat who has played both Neverwinter Nights and Neverwinter Nights 2, we were interested in trying to find the sweet spot between the two, because if anybody knows the history of those, I mean, there's still people making Neverwinter Nights modules today, and it's still, you know, fairly popular, as opposed to Neverwinter Nights 2 that had a neat brief existence. Well, I think people are still modding it, perhaps.
Oh yeah,
I really enjoyed Neverwinter Nights 2 because I did like that aspect of being able to, you know, move a cup here and like have the piece of paper over here, and then, you know, sculpt terrain and then paint the terrain and really make things, you know. But I remember, you know, a lot of people hit a roadblock there when they were modding themselves, and they didn't really feel good about their stuff. Whereas in Neverwinter Nights, yeah, I mean, you could just like plop, 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 you know, and then here's your outdoors. It all looks the same. You're not gonna have to feel inferior to any other module that's out there. What we're trying to do is trying to create kind of like a middle ground, just from our experience. And yeah, Johnny, go ahead.
And like the sheer amount of mods that exist in Neverwinter Nights, and that comes out in Neverwinter Nights versus Neverwinter Nights 2 is significant because of this aspect. People want to tell their stories often, and might not have that artistic ability. And having said that about like TaleSpire, that is sort of our goal. I don't feel like we're there. No. So we still need to work on how to build, and also like the size of tiles and getting slabs into the game itself is also going to help that aspect of it, being able to place down bigger things and then go granular. So that's sort of where we need to move. And if the feature that people request sort of go in the line of that, they're more likely to sort of align with what we end up doing.
Yeah. But yeah, don't worry about aiming for that. Just say what you would like, and we'll see what fits, and that's really
absolutely
cool. Also, what
we never know.
Yeah, what you folks have done as a community with slabs is awesome. Like that, it's so neat. It's so neat. I can jump in and just grab stuff.
Yeah,
like I do that all the time. Just put things together, and it's just lovely. It's really nice. Yeah, that's all I have to say about that. Okay, so I'm sorry, mate. I'm going to read your question, and I don't know how to pronounce your name, and I am sorry. So I'll just do the question. It would be nice to establish a standard set of shapes for all the theme sets of tiles. Then have your special tiles for that theme. Is that a plan to establish that? It'd be nice to establish a standard set of shapes for all the theme sets of tiles, and then have your special tiles.
Yeah, so it is something we sort of like get back to. We do have certain things like internally that we aim for. It would be ideal for us to have that. We'll get back to that, I think. Do you have any thoughts on that, Jason?
Yeah. I mean, of course, yeah, absolutely. It would be great to have a standard set of tiles, especially diagonal ones, you know. And then, no, I'm joking. But
sure.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I hear what you're saying. Some tile sets, if this is what you're saying, some tile sets lack a rounded corner. Some tile sets, you know, have you know, those kinds of things that just kind of make up the base tile set. And yeah, I mean, it would be good to eventually have all of that. I don't know. Yeah, we would revisit some of these tile sets. Maybe eventually.
It's really interesting. Like there are we're still discovering the kind of patterns that take place inside tile sets as well. So there are certain things like, okay, we know we need a 1x1 of this, a 2x2 of this. We need a wall filler. We need a this and a that. there's certain kinds of stairs you expect, and then certain kind of sets just lend themselves to certain things. The work Hannah did with the desert set, for example, was so cool. And there were some interesting patterns that we haven't finished exploring there. I know we wanted to go back to kind of bridge kind of constructions and like some of the rampy kind of things in there, which were so individual sets do have like teach us certain things. So yeah, I'm sure like patterns are emerging, that's for sure.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely the case. I think the ones that have broken the mold are probably the ones that have also created the most interesting builds. But of course, having those space set tiles would probably still be beneficial. They just we have to somewhat limit them so that we don't burn ourselves out on making like, oh, this particular set of tiles has to have these like particular shapes, because in a lot of cases like the designs might not lend themselves really well to it. But yeah, we'll see. Well, as Chris mentioned, there are certainly patterns emerging, and I think we would benefit from trying to establish a base set, even though it probably isn't the amount of tiles that people would like.
Right. Something that's actually really interesting. This is just something about building stuff in general. It's really good to try and like, if you have your kind of core values or core idea of the thing you're building, and then you try and pull things into that space. You try and carve that, and every now and again, like, you do have to kind of reach outside of that. You have to do something that doesn't fit the mold, and it does change how the thing you're making ends up being. But it is really interesting that you basically always fight yourselves. Like, we're always fighting ourselves to make this thing that we're dreaming of, and then certain things just necessarily go outside of what we envisage. But and they're good as well. Like, some of the stuff that comes out of this that you guys have forced us into has been really, really good for the game. But we have to go through this long process of like fighting it, like, because what comes out at the end is better, and it's it's really interesting.
Yeah, really, really knowing why we're making decisions is great for the decisions that are made. Having like you commented on that, I realized that the question itself does sort of include these more unique tiles, meaning that like, oh yeah, we have a base tile and then we make a bunch of like unique ones. And I think in a way that's already happening with most tiles, but not every tile set we make fits within the idea of like a room, for instance. But yes, I think patterns are emerging, and hopefully we can like jot those down and sort of making a start at that something.
Fantastic. I'm actually gonna just gonna check something quickly. If I do
this, is this audio still working for you folks? Is my microphone audio? I think it probably will have changed. You might have a little less echo now as well. I just realized I think I'm still pulling audio from my desk mic. It's quite an echoey. Worse audio quality? Okay, I'll change it back right now. Thank you so much.
Okay. It works out. No, it's all right. Let's thank you so much. I've put it back for now. Nice. Okay, let's have a look. Similar to previous question, what was the inspiration process behind the amazing music in TaleSpire? That opening theme, Heart. That's from Tabletop RPG Music. Jason.
Yeah, man. I mean, jeez. Yeah, again, no inspiration really. It's just me just trying to make music for TaleSpire. I don't know. I wish there was some cool thing I could say right now, but it's just that I'm just trying to make music to fill the silence, and yeah, the menu theme music though did come about a little. Okay, so like we were like, hey, we need a theme, and I was like, oh man, okay, this is big because this is gonna be the thing, right? And so I was listening to at that point like a lot of Howard Shore, a lot of John Williams, and kind of seeing like how do they make a theme, right? You know, if you're talking about, you know, listening to Lord of the Rings or Star Wars and the various themes in there and how he builds one out. you know, with the give and take and the up and down, and how he uses a certain scale. So I was just like, all right, you know what? I'm just gonna try that, and I'm going to make it an E because any any metal guitarist is always going to just be like, hey, I'm gonna write it in E, you know. So I started in E and started building a theme, man, and it worked out pretty well, I guess.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, no, it's just that like I think people have heard it so many times now that it's just grown on them. It's one of those like, you know,
Oh, it was
forceful
pretty
radios.
epic.
Yeah.
No, it was pretty
Yeah.
epic
No,
immediately.
you know what? I'm not fishing, but anyways, no,
Sure,
that's
sure.
cool, man. Thank you for the question, and really, yeah, I wish there was a better answer, but I love making music for this project. I think it's a great outlet personally, and I can't wait to do more and also hear everybody else's music like yours, tabletop RPG music. I know I've heard your stuff before, and I really enjoy it. And yeah, getting your stuff in the game and having people listen to that as well would be really really cool.
Yeah. Ah, we're so good at taking compliments. It's not awkward at all. Right. Hollyfox saying, how far in the foreseeable future do you think we'll get the sequencer enabled for scripted cutscenes? Oh, yes.
Oh, that's another thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the thing that I was planning on putting out in an experimental feature. I wanted to make some changes to it because I wasn't happy with how we moved characters around and stuff like that.
Right.
But I also hit some problems when it came to selecting characters and things currently, which is something that sort of made me. Well, I say that made me put it on ice, but it was basically Cyberpunk that sort of made me put it on ice for now. So it's I don't know exactly how much time is left on that. It would probably take like a couple of dedicated weeks.
Yeah.
I just need to find those dedicated weeks.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Is there anything I can help there with the selection stuff, or is that?
Oh, absolutely. There
Okay,
is there is a very specific thing that you can
Yeah?
help out
Oh,
with,
sick. Okay.
which is
That's great. In fact,
it's just I have to like document what that is and get it
Really
over
cool.
to you because it has to do with the pixel picking and stuff like that.
Interesting. Sweet. Yeah, that'd be really neat.
Just-
Yeah, then we can just get
So-
an experimental branch up again and just let people play with it.
Specifically, what it is so now we're going to get all technical.
Sure.
When dragging up the
You're in a
when
meeting
having the sequencer, yes, exactly. When we're having the sequencer at the bottom of the screen, that means that I resize the actual screen space for the game so that you can see the entire shot. However, when that's done, the pixel picker assume that I think it's like how the camera works and the pixel picker work.
Yeah.
There's some sort of rendering thing happening there that not sort of respecting that.
So it doesn't line up anymore. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't line up anymore.
Sick.
And I don't know. Yeah, so had a bunch of trials there to sort of like see if I could create an offset, but I think I was going down the rabbit hole on that.
Yeah.
But that's not specifically why it was put on ice, but that was like the last thing I did on it.
No, that's really cool. I think if it's what I think it is, that's an afternoon, like at most. Like that should be fine.
Right. Okay. Then let's see. Well, maybe we'll look into it briefly when you're down here.
Oh, that'd be
but no
dope.
promises to people.
Yeah.
No promises. But it's something that is technically already functional. I don't think we'll have full release of it anytime soon, but I'm hoping to add it as an experimental thing so that people can use it. It's just not meant to be like a final game type of experience.
Yeah.
So actually, that means that it probably wouldn't be usable for scripted cutscenes immediately. Yeah. All right.
Cool. The gamer 9619 again asks, are you able to set up separate subscription with Hero Forge that allows us to get more token points or get the most we can out of them? We don't affect their business at all. Like we're yeah, like as I'm not sure if you were here earlier when we were talking about that, but it really just is. People wanted Hero Forge. We did the work to put it in, and it was good that it overlapped with a lot of stuff we needed to write anyway. But we just don't have any influence of that kind of stuff. I mean, like, I don't even know what that would mean. More token point. Oh, it's just like we make things cheaper for you. Again, we don't have the power to do that. Like, talk to them. They're actually a nice bunch. Like, all of our interactions with them have been positive. They've been really good at getting back to us and stuff. And just we both have the same problem of like there are certain things we still need to do that are kind of just like, unless one of us is prodding the other one, some things take a bit longer than we'd like to get done. But that's completely fine. That's just, we're all busy beans.
Yeah, the interaction has been amazing, and there was something I was supposed to add. Like, I was thinking about adding to that particular answer, but now it went away.
Yeah.
So sorry about that.
Yeah, throw it up in when if it comes back to you.
If it comes back, I'll shout out.
Nice. Yeah, Ocean Lord asks, a search bar for unique minis? Or is that from someone called All Views? I'm not sure. A search bar for unique minis has been annoying searching through minis I need when I have to just scroll through. It's going to be a pain for games. Yeah, totally. I'm sorry about that. That's definitely something I can do. And now I've been like prodding at the unique creature thing. Actually, I should have a post-it note here. Where's my pen? Just as... I will get this down into a proper system at some point, but seeing as we're right here, I can just write down, search.
Suggesting that post-it notes isn't a proper system.
Yeah.
No comment.
Yep. I'll hurl it into the cloud. Right. Let's have a look. Okay, so... thanks, Ocean, for clarifying that. Ringly Panda asks, any plans to continue working with Fog of War, or is this placed on the back burner? High volume is okay, but it takes a lot of work. 100%. Both. Yes, I would absolutely love to get back into that. It is a monster. It is just a really hard problem to do well without consuming. So what we could do, for example, is we could change our goals. Like, if we wanted something faster, we could say, okay, Fog of War isn't going to be persistent. It's something that's down, and we clear things that are in the area around you, for example. We could do that. That is achievable in a shorter period of time. And so as you move minis around, the fog will close in behind you. But if you want something where fog stays like revealed with multiple players, with all this stuff, it's just a lot of work. Also, doing it in 2D is so easy. It's so annoying how simple it is to do in 2D. You could get it done in an afternoon at most. It's like, and again, persisting that, yeah, I mean, like, yeah, even that's easy as well. Like, there are kind of like, anyway, I won't go into the implementation of that for now. But yeah, doing it in 2D is really easy. Doing it in 3D, it takes a lot more work computationally, and yeah, so picking things up and revealing in real time can be a little tricky depending on what implementation it is. I mean, again, if you want things to actually follow like doorways and stuff like this, if you just wanted a circle around characters, again, afternoon of work kind of thing. I'm not going to say that. A short amount of work. But yeah, like we really want to do a proper 3D Fog of War that is persistent, that works with parties. And basically I made that implementation that was like revealing things on a kind of 1 by 1 by 1 kind of cube basis, which worked and was fast enough-ish, kind of. The visualization of it was ass, but that was a stand-in anyway. But the problem isn't the visual. The problem is the fundamental thing that the resolution is too coarse. We can't get, like, you can stand in a certain position and it reveals like the top layer of a maze, for example, and you can just see your way through the maze, and it's spoilers. It like ruins stories, and so it's absolutely unacceptable to use what we have. And more than that, we can't rely on that implementation. Like, there's some things maybe we learned from it, great, but it is not useful as an implementation of Fog of War, which is heartbreaking because I put lots of work into. Heartbreaking. It's annoying. I put a lot of work into that, and it is wrong. And so yeah, I need to come up with something else. We are researching it. We're again reading, watching a lot of videos of rendering techniques and reading papers and doing things. But it's just yeah, it's a pain in the butt. I really wish I could just go, here you go, here it is. And I think the answer might be to do local Fog of War as an interim. It would still be a bunch of work to get to have it like follow all the doorways and stuff nicely, but it would be less. Yeah, we'll do some stuff there.
Yeah, there are just shadow casting techniques you can use for that.
Yes.
So that's actually absolutely not as big of a hurdle.
Yeah,
But,
actually, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, yeah, that's great. Um, T. Fidel, if I'm saying that right, I know custom music is at the moment a no-go due to the legality of having to stream it through TaleSpire, but are there any issues? Have there been any ideas or developments on a workaround so we could eventually use custom tracks? I mean, the short term is going to be we need to get modding out to you so you can just stick your tracks in mods and ship them with like that. So you can just download them and then everyone has them and that's fine. So we don't need to stream them. And then it's up to you to not infringe people's copyright and host those responsibly. Otherwise, the people hosting that data are going to come after you. Well, I mean, are going to follow IP takedown requests and stuff like that if people came after you. But yeah, as far as implementations for the streaming stuff, not now, not yet. Like that's just there's it like the legal thing is something that we have to think about, and it's interesting. When you're a game, you know if you get successful enough that someone's going to sue you. It's just making sure we do things right, and so we just have to think about stuff. It's just an unfortunate thing. Yeah, something to think about.
as far as the like something a little bit different
Yeah, go for it.
is that we're running a bit late here now. As far as we've done this for 2 hours.
Oh yeah,
I'm thinking about doing like 3-4 minutes for people to get questions in. Now I'm going to shut off that bot. That
okay, yeah,
registers
and then we just finish off
and
what
then
we
we'll
have.
yeah.
That's great.
So let's say 5 past, and
Yeah.
I'll cut it off.
Awesome. Get the questions in, folks. Rex Verdi says, any plans for a dynamic room system along the lines of Houdini that lets you sketch a room and fill in the space, and it fills in space?
Let's see. I might have to reread that question because I wasn't quite.
I did down my way through it, so
There's something like a dungeon alchemist or something.
yeah, we've got no plans to do any kind of like AI automatic generating things. We've talked in the past about blueprints where you could lay out like the kind of more like the volumes of spaces and then like drop tiles in to make the walls and the floor and things like this in a more automatic way. We wanted to do some experiments with that. I still haven't got round to doing the thing where you could just where we can set up tiles to have relationships, like a corner knows what side tiles it has a relationship, so you could just drag out a square room. Yeah,
there's I think that's still something I would like to experiment with as far as the blueprint system. At least that's something I'd like to experiment with. But yeah, it's not priority right now.
Yeah. And bad news, Johnny, you're frozen again. Camera's
I am
on.
frozen again.
Yep.
Right. Let's go back into the game view here. Okay, I guess the camera overheats. That's the thing to consider.
Yeah.
It's been used a lot more than it normally does.
True. Yeah. So Rex, I suppose the answer is yeah. We don't. Like, I guess yeah. We have plans for things. We don't have any plans to do like a big AI or like automated kind of thing. No. Vanilla Spicy says, will we have any movable carts or horses with a cart attached? It would be awesome for any traders. Like, oh man, that gets me back to another feature which has been on hold for too long, which is subboards. So the idea that you can build on a movable plate and then move the whole thing around, then we can do vehicles and stuff really easily. Because you could just build them out of tiles and props and then just move them around separately from everything else. And any mini that would be on that would travel with that thing. That would be super cool. Mountable carts or horses, yeah. I'm not sure what we're going to do for the mounting system. Like there's definitely some. Yeah, there's definitely some ideas there. Things having like, oh man.
Well, something that was brought up a little bit earlier is just sort of like making basically hacking creatures together and stuff like that. Yeah. That's an interesting thing, and could be a way to handle some of the magic systems.
But it makes me think of the inventory systems as well. So you could literally take a character and put them like in the pocket of the horse kind of thing, and then bring it around and then bring them back out again. Ooh, that's actually got implications. I'll have a think.
It does.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's it's something we're thinking about.
Yes, that's the proper answer, isn't it? Have some of your unique assets for various streaming shows been helping with revenue, or is it more helping those shows for the advertisement showcases of the program? Oh, is this kind of like
Dimension 20.
Oh right, yeah, like we've made some stuff for them, helping with. I mean, it's just really neat.
The bot is now heading away, by the way. So.
Cool. It's just really neat. Like when someone like it's when people reach out and it's something really cool and it's fun to do. It's really nice to do to be able to do some stuff there.
Could I just get that question again? So,
sure. It's the
Okay, I'm reading it now.
Oh, excellent! There you go. Also, can you zoom in on the little car near this?
Oh, this guy?
I just haven't looked at that one yet. That's really sweet.
Oh, let's see. Oh, that's a prop, isn't it? Let's move this guy over. It's like a tiny. It's not fully textured yet, so
yeah, that's cute though.
It's like a cute car.
Yeah, nice.
It's a personal car.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's see. So use actually various streaming shows. Their shows for their advertising. I think the as far as sort of like working with Dimension 20 specifically, it was mainly because it was just really cool to do.
Yeah.
It was just a lot of fun to work with those the people over at the Dimension 20, and like most of the stuff that was done customly was done like was done on their end, and we've tried to like make sure that at least while the stuff that we make are stuff that was going into TaleSpire at some point anyway. In the latest season, Starstruck, they did a lot more custom stuff that we put in specifically for their show that we didn't make. So we don't have any sort of like say over those particular things. Yeah. But I believe it's helped probably, but that's not what we why we did it. Yeah. It was just because it was really cool to do, and
yeah, it's like college humor and Rooster Teeth. It's just stuff that like that's been around. It's like been part of our experience of the internet for so long, and it's just like, holy cow, they reached out to us. That's so neat.
And that's really neat. And if anyone gets the opportunity to work with any of those people, I'd recommend it.
Yeah,
it's been great.
Yeah. Can I get a signed copy of the OST? I mean, you get the OST if you backed the thing at that level. I don't know about signed copy. Sorry, I don't know how to handle that one. Maybe if we're at a convention one day in the future and you find us at a convention, we can scribble on yours. That'd be great. From Tabletop RPG Music. Oh, sorry, yeah.
No, I guess, go for it.
When is the official soundtrack coming out?
That's probably going to be around the version 1.0 when we release 1.0. That way, you know, I have as much opportunity to put as much music into the game as possible, and then you know, we can cut it off there, and we'll see what happens after that, man. I mean, you know, modding should be out by then, and all this other stuff. So yeah, probably around 1.0, which is undetermined at this point.
Nice. Is there a way to make suggestions regarding other creators for potentially mutual beneficial for other collaborators? That's my idea of vocalists that could be helpful. To make suggestions. Yeah. Do you want to handle that one?
Wait, what was the question?
So it's about like, so basically, I mean, it's regarding. Is there a way to make suggestions regarding other creators that could be good to work with us, basically? Yeah, I mean, just let us know who they are. Let them know who we are. If they're interested, reach out and we just like folks.
I mean, cool. Yeah, man, just come to the Discord. We're always around. I know it may not look it like, but I get Discord open all the time, and I'm sure Chris and Johnny too as well. So if you just come to the channel and. Yeah.
One thing I saw in the chat just a second ago, and it was someone saying it might be worth asking Dimension 20 folks to name drop TaleSpire during the show and stuff like that. That's I get where you're coming from, but we have no it's just cool to be out there. We just we like making toys. It's cool. It's fine that people are playing with your toys. And to be honest, they shout out TaleSpire a lot. Like an uncomfortable amount for us to be able to handle the amount of praise that's kind of been thrown at us in some of their things. So we've got more than we can handle already. It is, I mean, yeah, it's good. We're not good PR people. We just want to make a cool thing and keep doing
I know.
that. Yeah.
I know. I wish I had a lot more 80s businessman in me.
Oh,
But,
no.
yeah.
It's cool cooking.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'll get behind that answer. They've called us out a lot, and they didn't have to. And just when we first were demoing TaleSpire to them, just the excitement they brought was just so. Like it was so influential to us at that time, at least me personally, to just continue making this thing. So it was fun. It was the entire experience was great.
Yeah, and I've got another one here. Now that you mentioned it, when are the Henson packs coming out? Wouldn't that be so cool?
Oh, dude.
To what we'd like. Those are some people would work with. That would be so lovely.
Yeah, dude.
As long as we don't have to do Disney too much. Anyway.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I've just spoiled that possible partnership now.
Yeah. No, it's not going to happen now. Well, that was unfortunate. Well, that's your answer right there. Yeah. Not going to happen. No, but having said that, as in, we would love to, like, once we've covered a bunch of like the more traditional fantasy stuff, we would love to do more in that vein, basically, the stuff that we'd like to do personally.
Yeah, that's awesome. So Diane Payne 69 says group movement with unique creatures is hard, but mass delete is fine by me. Would that be a feature you're willing to add? Absolutely. I'm like one of the things that is one task that is rapidly heading towards me is copy paste of creatures. Copy paste of like groups of creatures is a minefield because it requires undo redo. And undo redo of large numbers of things is technically interesting when you have 16 people who are editing things at the same time. It's what made it's why the building system in TaleSpire took a really long time to get solid. I have a pattern now that I can follow to use for creatures. I tried doing it before the early access release, but I ran into limitations of how we were spawning creatures, which has since been fixed. So I am ready to look at that again. Yes, that is coming up. That is coming up. So then you will be able to delete large numbers of creatures really easily. So yeah, that'd be cool. I lost my place here. There we go. How is Fog of War and Line of Sight coming along? Sorry, Two Hands. You might want to go earlier in the stream to hear about the Fog of War stuff, or this might have been asked before we talk about it more at length. Line of Sight hasn't changed. That's behaving itself at the moment. I'd love to make it more efficient. I'd like to make a lot of things more efficient. Could we have tiles that are plain, essentially prototype blocks devoid of texture? No. You'll be able to mod them in yourselves, but we're not doing it. It makes us sad. Is that fair?
Yeah, that was my line.
Demon Gun saying, I really like the spotlight drone mini on the screen. Any chance of a simple point light emitter that doesn't have a texture, just a point light?
We do want to make some systems for dealing with lights.
Yeah,
I think that's the I think that's the answer there.
I'm still like just so you know who to be annoyed with Demon Guns. I'm still the one arguing that there should be some kind of physicality to it. I really like the combination. I really like something about the fact that the way we use hide volumes. I know hide volumes aren't the ideal tool for it, but I love the fact that when people use them artistically. That you like people placing crystals and then hiding the crystals but leaving the lights visible. I really love that. I would love to think there is some kind of physical representation of lights, even if that isn't visible all the time. I'm grumbling about that stuff. From Jack Lucas of Sector 130. How's Sector 130? It's been a long time. Is there a way to include special dice from other systems like the Genesis dice? Not yet. We need to. I need to have a dice macro system that can support that kind of thing, and we need to have dice modding in general. Yeah, it could come. It could come. Demon Gun. I think we covered this a little bit. Could I? Oh no! Wait a second. It's a different question. Could I do a Kickstarter to raise funds? And it's like Demon Gun asking if they can do a Kickstarter to raise funds, so you can hire a dev to do all the backlog tile. No, no, absolutely not.
I mean, that wouldn't. Yeah, that definitely. It's not necessarily like a fun, like a money issue. It's like a working with person issue. Yeah. In the sense that, yeah, we want to keep the team small, and adding another person, it would have to be the right person, and we're not looking right now, right? So, so that's the issue.
Yes, that's the wrong solution, and for the wrong problem. Starry, not really a question, but wanted to say that as a community member, TaleSpire has been a real light in my life, and the discovery of my own love for content creation. I can hope for a future as bright as what we've got. Thank you so much. That's really, really sweet.
Thank you, man.
Dude.
Yay!
That's awesome.
It's really cool. It's really cool. Pseudo Wiven says other 3D platforms have started coming out. One of them already has you pay for different tile sets. Is there anything planned for TaleSpire, like future DLC or a paid service for separate features, like importing TTRPG systems like D&D and Pathfinder? So with no plans for DLC of features, no, at all. We talked a little bit earlier about the idea of like once we've got all the core pack kind of stuff done, like V1, get that out. It would be nice to have packs that we could sell for niche things. Like we will always have vampires, but then hey, if you want these really specific kinds of vampires, there would be a pack for that. Things that aren't required but could be cool. Yeah, so there'll be some things for that. We also mentioned the idea of maybe having some subscription-based things, so people could buy seats instead of copies of the game to make things easier for things like professional GMs and stuff like that. We're open to ideas, but it's not a replacement for what we currently have. Again, like I'm a person who likes buying a product and that's it. And I won't do subscriptions for other things. I hate it. So yeah, there will be choice. And then so something else from there. And other 3D platforms. I mean, cool. I guess what works for them. That's. I hope they're having fun. I hope they're building something nice for their community. That's really dope. In the future, might there be a way to add images into the game? For example, maybe a map to move a mini on. Not planning for like something to put a mini on. We're still looking at doing the overworld kind of view and maybe overworld tile building kind of stuff. We're still musing on that. Images, we do want to have a thing where you could bring in an image and have it in a nice little frame to show players. I think that's very achievable. Yes, I think that's very achievable. That'd be really good. So then you can drag in a map or something and have that synced around. There's some things to think about there, but data-wise, it's a smaller problem. Is there a plan to... Sorry, I'm barreling through some of these questions. If either of you want to jump in on anything, please.
Yeah, no, you're answering them well, so
That's
I'm
right.
just letting that by. So.
Okay, I'll keep flapping my jaw. Right, in the future, might there be a way to add... Oh, that's the same one. I'm not looking properly. Is there a plan to rework the water mechanics to make it not flood basements in harbour houses? Yeah, we want to replace the water with water volumes. Yep. Would you ever add an option to hide maps list from the players? Oh, yes, absolutely, absolutely. So we want to do that. The idea we want is that players come in and the board between worlds becomes a specific place. It's a place with like just a kind of lobby map. People arrive there, and then you, as the GM, drag them from that place into the board you're playing in the session, and you move them between boards. Then they won't have the board list anymore. We grouped that with a lot of improvements we want to do to party management. I'm not sure if we need to have the new party management system to be able to do that. We definitely want it to be able to do it as well as we'd like to.
Yeah,
but maybe
I think
there's something we can do in the interim.
Yeah, I think that particular part we could probably do sooner, and it's something we were sort of talking about potentially doing sooner. It was just that other tasks took us other places.
Yeah.
But yes, that list is supposed to go away for players, so that you just need to make it a lot easier for I think that was the main part of it, is making it more easy to like have characters associated with player in such a way that you can more easily drag players into the map that you're in.
Yeah.
It was sort of like the idea there.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I'm thinking about implementation now. I will stop doing that. Tabletop RPG Music asks about non-cubed shaped hide volumes. No immediate plans for that. So the interesting thing there is about... So the thing that jumps into my head, of course, first is about efficiency of computing what is inside the volume. And so there are things to think about there. That's probably not as big a deal. That's just the first thing that comes into my head when that comes up. And I would need to make sure to myself that that is covered before I go any further. And then, of course, there's the actual tool side of it, which is its own authoring thing. But yeah.
Yeah, so there's I think the main reason why we haven't gone forward with any of that stuff has been computational. But it is something that we should probably revisit at some point to see whether, like, how expensive is that to do more custom shapes. And also, how should that be? Should it be like you draw out the shape and then you extrude it outwards, for instance? That can be a thing. But then that's becomes like a really complicated thing to calculate per tile, whether that is hidden. So I guess it also depends on the frequency of the calculation as well. So there's some things to consider.
Yep. Yeah, there's a lot of discussions which start with Johnny kind of going, we should really have this kind of feature. And then I go, no, the data they're processing. And then a couple of days later, I realize actually it is feasible. And I just needed to think about it for a bit longer. So yeah, all this stuff will be reconsidered and experimented with, which is really cool. Because right now the non-cube shape hide volumes doesn't seem too crazy to me. Like, as long as it was like vertically, it was just like you plot out a shape and then drag it upwards. I think I could go with that. All right. Sure. But scaling would be weird. Anyway, that's not the problem right now. Stop. Right.
Yeah. Let's not go there.
Double right-clicking on dice by accident is still super broken. You guys know about this, or should I post a new bug report? If there's already a bug report on it, we know it in the sense that it's recorded. Again, it's just bandwidth. It's really getting through the bug list. It's just, I am so grateful. I feel there's a couple of feelings that I feel all the time. Fucking terrible that I have not gone through all of the bugs and answered you all, because I really, really appreciate it. Absolutely relieved that you're all posting those bugs there, because it means when we get to, like, when it becomes a day of like, okay, I'm doing a bug fixing day, I can just dive through and I can find 5 things that I can fix and just hammer them out. It's so good. Like, it's so valuable. Thank you so much. And I'm sorry that I'm not there more to like acknowledge the work that you've put into reproducing these things. It's brilliant.
But yeah. I'm gonna hazard a guess as to what this particular bug is. So when you're double clicking on a dice, does it take you to the bottom of the screen, probably, like on to the mats, basically?
Sudawiran,
yes,
answer that, and we'll follow up on that question in a second.
Yes, because that is certainly something I'd like to fix if that is the case. I haven't double clicked on the dice in a while, I guess.
Yeah, I haven't experimented with that stuff enough. Makrula asks, is the sci-fi pack dropping soon?
So I answered this a little bit earlier in the stream. We are working on wrapping it up. That is
so that's the cyberpunk and sci-fi stuff is
Yes, and they're both sort of so the it's a mixed pack. Like, there's some sci-fi stuff, there's a lot of cyberpunk stuff, and they sort of complement each other. So we've started the process of like wrapping that stuff up. We're not doing a ton of more assets. We're just sort of finalizing the ones that we have, and I still am not going to give like a date for that, but it's going well, and that's sort of where we're at.
Awesome. Okay, we're rolling towards the last few questions. Where do I apply as a dev? I mean, the serious answer to this is feel free to send in your like details to us, like your portfolio, things like that. We are not looking for devs at the moment, though. It's just not something like, it's completely fine if you want to send those things in, and we'll keep them on file 100%. But It's just not something we're looking for right now.
Yeah. As in, I would still encourage you to send them. As in, because we will put them on file, but we are not looking at them, as you said.
Image input on the build map that can be scaled up and down. Any plans? No, that's not something that doesn't make us. It does not spark joy, or whatever. Any plans regarding image handouts in game? Yes, that was something I covered a little bit earlier. Being able to drag in and sync images around, and that would be really neat. We've got as far as acknowledging, yes, that would be, like having a simple, nice, stylized frame where you can view an image and have that available. Probably something we'd want to tie into the chat system in some way as well. Probably, I don't know. It's cool. Yeah, something there. The gamer 9619 again says, so I run big games in TaleSpire, groups of up to 6 PC. I have a powerful gaming computer, and I have this one thing we come across often as a big issue with assets that are loaded on one board, causing lag while moving or playing on that board. Are you able to add an asset counter, letting us know when we reach the point where it becomes laggy? So, yeah, it's not just about asset count. It's about a lot of things. So it can be about asset point. It can be about asset density. It can be about the kind of things that are on screen, like what kind of materials they're using.
Just the amount of different tiles.
Like the amount of things that are resident on the GPU and stuff like that. Not much, but I mean, like, there's stuff. I'm sorry that, again, like I feel like bad that, like, it's not as efficient as I want it to be. So again, I start with just an apology. Like, the game's not as fast as it needs to be. But getting past that, asset counters, yes, I definitely want to add those. It won't tell you when it starts lagging, but you can correlate that with FPS, I suppose, using normal FPS counters. That would probably be the way. And we have reached the end of the list.
Excellent. And that gets us to about 2.5 hours.
That's really cool.
Nice.
Fantastic. And yes, people are mentioning lights and shadows and things like this.
That was actually the thing. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And that's sort of partly what we were starting to get into with the whole when we were getting into rendering pipelines and shadows and stuff earlier. It's that's a big one. I would like to do some more things.
There's so many things I can do if I can just get a bit more control of certain parts of the system. And it's great.
There's still a lot of stuff that can be done on the performance side, also because of the changes that were made prior to the early access release. So we're sort of setting that up to be able to do more, and hopefully we can do that. Also, things like potential doing logs and things in the future. LODs. Could be a possibility of reducing at least the amount of polygons on the screen. Of course, we are utilizing instancing of meshes at the moment, which allows us for pretty fast rendering of identical tiles, which is great. But the shadow stuff is one of the things that sort of doesn't take full advantage of that, and it's problematic. But I think we should probably. We should
call it a night. As fun as this is, thank you so much, everyone. This was awesome, and now that, again, specifically, I've got an internet connection that can handle video again. I would love to make this more regular than it's been. Let's put it that way. Thanks for an awesome time, and
before you head out there, Jason.
Oh yeah, hey, thanks everybody for stopping by. Hi.
Yeah, excellent. I just figured I'd let you also do an outro if you want to.
Yeah, man, don't forget to smash that like button. No,
fuck off. All right. Take care, everyone. See you around. Bye.
Thanks everyone for being here.